What I'm going to cover today is the fact that we've got a little bit of an update to Schoology. So we're going to kind of look at the patch of that and kind of go over what you guys are going to be looking at for the next 6 weeks. The former 6 weeks is dead to you. There is nothing that you can do about that unless you've been already given something. But I'll go over that with the individuals that have the letter grade that is I individually. So if you did receive one of those, come see me, or I will probably come see you before you come see me. But the previous 6 weeks is absolutely, positively dead to changing any kind of grade whatsoever in that week. And it'll always be like that for every 6 week marking period. And we give this opportunity as a chance to kind of reset. You've learned a few things. One, don't procrastinate, okay? And if you didn't procrastinate, maybe you worked ahead. Maybe you got to the point where you got bored while others were procrastinating. So there's that balance where it makes the group inefficient. That's going to happen throughout the whole year. You're teenagers. You're never going to fix that because you're suffering from herd mentality in a group. So once you get out of the group, you'll be fine. But until then, you're always either going to be ahead of others or way freaking behind. But I've never seen anybody in a group that's well balanced until they're getting out of the group. It's not your fault. So that means I always have to kind of be the middle guy for the people, the champion of the lower and the champion of the higher, to give you enough content to give you enough stress, but not give you enough to push yourself over the edge. That's why you get the amount of work in here. And it's in person too. So most of the time you have that given opportunity to be in a peer group where you can ask questions. So you are going to receive as much work as you did before. Just know that it's marking period 2. You still have options, but if you liked how that pace went, good. If you didn't, again, always come see me if you have any questions about your reality and you need to change anything. The Schoology, years before, what we did is for employability was quite a grind. So your last year employability, that was paper, right? So you signed a piece of paper every day, and then you handed that back, and then Diebold went through, I seen that man go through hundreds of pieces of paper a day and then hand them all back. And I've never done it that way. Thank goodness. And then I started to do digital, which was a huge change. But then the student, what they did is they forgot to turn it in until Friday, okay? So Friday would roll around. They would try to crunch up all the stuff they did in a week, right? And then they would try to turn that in. That didn't work because sometimes people weren't here on Friday. So what they did, they waited till Friday, and then they weren't here, and then they failed the employability. The only difference between employability and regular assignments is you cannot make up employability. Just like the real world, I have to come in, I have to check in, I have to clock in. In some places you have to kind of like tell a team what you did that day. You have to kind of write down what you did. You have to tell them where you're at on a project, where you left off. So we know as a company, an individual, or a company can look at you as an individual and say, oh, they left off here. They're not going to be gone for 3 days. I have to have Bob, Jill, and Jan pick up the work for that individual. So I treat it just like a business. So in a business, we record daily what we're doing. I just tried to make it weekly last year because I thought it would be a good idea, but that did not roll over quite well. So in your marking period here, under marking period 2, week 1, we have the employability. Cool. So it's 5 quizzes that are worth 1 point. Every day, no matter if it rains, sleets, snows, apocalypse happens, meteor hits your house, you reach to Schoology and you get your 1 point for that day. You can do it on your phone. You can do it wherever. But let's say you are sick. So first off, probably, let me know via email. But you then reach for the Schoology button and you click it and you say, I am sick. And then you go pass out. Okay? That's how it works. If you want your 1 point per day. Now, is it going to hurt you? It's 1 point at 30%. So it is. If you get all 5 wrong, yeah, it's going to sting a little bit. But if you miss one here and there, not so bad. If you're a person that puts off work, it's going to hurt you. If you're a person that stays well ahead, it's not going to hurt you at all. So it's fair but unfair. It's cool. That's the easiest way I could get it to work. So you click on it. And don't do this yet because it's not the end of the day. For me, it looks like this. So what I'll see is 30 comments, and I'll just end up scoring them all. On your end, it's just a quiz question. I don't know if I can hit preview or not. Oh, yeah, I can hit preview. Sweet. So this is what it's going to look like on you. You hit preview. You hit the little button. You type in. You read this statement that's really small up here, but it's not too small on your screen. It basically says ideas, things that you can put in this area to qualify. Then you hit next. And this is you rating yourself. Okay, this does not affect the overall grade. Whether you choose 4, 3, 2, or 1, or 0, it's still the same score of 1. All these are worth 1. Not doing it equals 0. So I could choose 3, and it's a good grade. I could choose 2, it's a good grade. Does that make sense? So this is a subjective idea of yourself here. Like you're going to beat yourself up one day and say, you know what, I didn't do squat today, so I had this does not meet expectations. Or I could say I'm a superhero that day, and I'm going to be 4. You get the same score. This is just a kind of a mental check for you. And then when you get done, you hit review, and then I get it, and then I could just score it. I score it once a week. I don't score it daily, but this goes away at midnight. In other words, like let's say Monday rolls around, midnight, you're like, oh my God, the button. It's 11:59 and you miss the button, it disappears. So that's the cool thing about it. It's a daily. 11:59, you're like, oh my God, I forgot my button. All right, now the fun stuff. If you thought that was fun. So when do you do that? Every day, right? Every day at the end of the day? Or before midnight of that day? Wednesdays, you will not be present. I still gave you something. I'm not going to Zoom you. I'm not going to force you to get out of bed at, 8 o'clock in the morning and be like, hello, man, Zooming. It's in school. Just, I gave you something that's practical, useful. So what I want to give you is the ability to think about, Like when I talk to a client, I can whip up something in front of them very quickly. Like there's no doubt about it. If somebody has an idea, I can translate that idea to paper, show them, get it cleared, and get it printed like that day. I was a tattoo artist for like 8 years, and one of the things that I loved about tattooing is like they had an idea, they wanted a tattoo, right? I sketched it out in front of them. Gave it to them, sent them on their way. It was great until you realize that tattooing it's soul draining. It is, like every day. It's really good money, but it's not worth the money. It's awesome money, but there's some days you just don't want to draw, and that doesn't work out with tattooing because you're addicted to the money. So yeah, I became a teacher anyway after that, because I went to college during that time. What it really did taught me, it was like I had the ability now to do really cool graphic design stuff because I was able to kind of sketch in front of people, be okay with that. So you're going to have a drawing assignment every Wednesday. And it's going to be quite different because the other thing that I enjoy about these assignments is it bridges the gap to communication. Some of you cannot communicate. Some of you can, but it's not your fault. You just haven't had that communication or that practice yet. Many years of being in front of people taught me the communication. So you're up in front of people is going to be a video. And I gave you some examples. So the first part of it, Wednesday, you don't have a computer? Cool. That's okay. You don't need one. All you need is that pouch of art supplies. If you don't have one, I'll get you a pouch of art supplies. And this pouch is the only thing that you're going to have is in this pouch. Don't add to it. Don't subtract away from it. Okay, that's the rules of the game. Okay, I'll get everybody one of these if you didn't get one. Don't add to it. Don't subtract away from it. The only thing you're allowed to use is in this pouch. So what you're going to do is come up with a technique for, being creative. It could be, let's say, for example, I have a hole punch. I have these shapes. I have a bunch of markers, and I have a glue stick. And obviously, you probably have some paper, which we'll try to get you some paper by Tuesday, all packaged up for you guys. So what are you going to do that's creative with these tools? And then you're going to come up with that creative idea. Then it has to be a real small thing because you have to make a 1-minute video when you get back, or you can do it right after. It doesn't matter. You can do it with your phone, about the technique and how to do it so others can practice it. That's going to be really, 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 really entertaining for people. But by the time you do about 10 of these, you'll get over it. I would say 4 of them, you're going to be on the struggle bus. You're going to be at odds with yourself. You're going to hate the way you talk in front of yourself. You're going to be hating the way that you explain things. Okay? It's okay. You're doing a great job. I'm not judging you at all. I know you're learning. These are videos that you're not going to share unless they're just unlisted YouTube things that you're just going to upload to me. And for every Wednesday assignment, you're going to give me an example of this little 5x8 sheet. You're kind of limited. I'm trying to make it so these are 1 minute at best, as far as like you talking about how to do it. But you're limited to a 5x8 sheet of paper, right? And you're given all the tools in the world to do it. Pick one small thing that you can show. Do it. Give an example of it and how to do it. That's how it works. It's gonna be rough, but it's so good, so good. So it's okay if you broadcast a little bit of hatred on me. You can come see me in 20 years. Thank me. So don't have to have a computer at home to do this, right? When you get done, actually the Wednesday So the Thursday or Friday session is where you can you can shoot the video in the paper room, or you can shoot the video at home and then edit it here. But again, I'm limiting you to, a couple minutes at best. If it's taking you that long, think of a different idea to share. I also gave you some examples of what I'm looking for. So down here below.
More than 20 million people use Grammarly every day to improve their writing. You can use it on your computer or your phone. And for your most important work, Grammarly's editor provides comprehensive writing feedback on correctness, clarity, engagement, and delivery, so you and your ideas can make an impact. Elevate your cover letter from good to great with compelling word choice and concise phrasing to...
Hey, Shooby-Doodlers, now I'm going to show you how to do these little things here, and I'm going to tell you why you should do them. It's like playing scales on the piano, but let's not talk about it. Let's do it.
In this example, this guy is just showing you how to make texture with a Sharpie marker, right? Draws out a little box, shows you different techniques for doing different types of texture. So what you would do is come up... In this example, please don't keep replicating the same example, because that's going to get really old really quick, because you're giving so many tools. I'll have to come up with different rules later on, I'm sure, to make it so that the replication doesn't happen too bad. But for right now, we're going to say that, don't keep replicating the same techniques. Right? And he keeps going on with different types of textures. You don't have to do that. You just do one thing. Again, it doesn't have to be textures. It could be like how to make a box using angles. It could be how to use the watercolor in a certain technique. If you don't know anything as far as a technique, you might have to look up a couple techniques, practice them, and then talk about them. So if you've never used watercolor, let's say I've never used watercolor in my life, right? I might have to practice a little bit using watercolor before I can actually talk about what my little exercise is. And instead of teaching people, think of this as mental exercises that keep you sane.
Students, I get your attention. If there's any Northwest students in the building, I need you to bring your stuff and come on up to the office for me, if you would.
Uh-oh.
Northwest students from the office. Thank you.
Northwest kids? Any Northwest in here? No, because they're not here yet, I don't think. They didn't make it. All right. They're going to get this recording and it'll be like, such an... All right. So that is your Wednesday drawing assignment that will be repeated from here forever. It might change as far as rules, but before I change the rules, I'll make sure I address what the new rules are. If I switch things up on you, if I see too much replication on things, I might add a rule just to keep you on your toes and to keep things a little bit more lively. I would like to take all of these and stitch them together at the end of the year and make a montage. That would be freaking sweet. And I definitely want to share the exercises in like a little forum somewhere. I don't know how that's going to work though, but okay. So let's review. Today I would go and do my employability at the end of the day. I don't do this until Wednesday. You can do it earlier, but never tell anybody that I didn't give you anything to do Wednesday. Please, don't do that. It's right there. You do it whenever you want, though. Inkscape. Inkscape is by far one of my most favorite programs other than Blender. So I'm sharing with you my favorite ones first. The most useful ones. And the reason I keep going back to Inkscape every once in a while is when you do Inkscape, Inkscape's got this feature that Illustrator does not. That I don't understand why Illustrator doesn't have this. And I'll try to make that. Let's see, maybe make it bigger this way. No, I don't want to zoom in. Oh, just plus. Hey, this is your favorite tool, right? The pen tool? So Inkscape allows you to do this. I grab here, and I can move it. Anywhere. Oh, that's so much nicer. So I can move it here. 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 And you can switch over from different types of so in other words, like I go to this point right here. Maybe I want to point there. I can now go like this. I can go like this. And now I have a point in that area where I didn't have a point before. Maybe I changed my mind. I'm like, oh, no, that's clearly ugly. And then, bam, it's back. Just that alone. And when you get into we get into path effects, which is a pretty awesome thing. I won't spoil it for you just yet, but when you go to let's say when you're inking a drawing of yourself, like you made an anime character, right? You made an anime character, and it's got that thing called line weight. Inkscape does the line weight for you. So it's very easy to sketch out a line and then have this dynamic, flowing looking line. Not like that. This is just a rope, to be honest with you. But we're talking something with weight behind it. So that we're going to kind of look at Inkscape. We'll get pretty deep into it. And just like before, we'll contrast the two. We'll go Inkscape versus Illustrator, just like before we did Inkscape or Blender versus Premiere. Again, both programs are very useful. Like I still use Premiere every once in a while. I still use Blender every once in a while. In fact, what I do, if I'm really in a crunch, I'll use both programs at the same time because one can render one thing while the other renders the other. And I can press out a few things very, very quickly because of that. That's why it's very useful to have both, but if you didn't have the money for both, you wouldn't need them. Inkscape's completely free, runs on a toaster. You can run it on the crappiest of machines. It still works really well. And then about week, I think 4 or 5, we'll switch over to Illustrator. I'm still authoring. I'm still writing this one. And I got this one in my head. I just haven't got it on paper yet. So cool stuff. I don't ever make even if I had stuff from last year, I always make new stuff. I feel it's more fun for me to be honest with you, to come up and make content for you that's relevant to where you're at rather than relative to a group of students that were last year. It's a lot more entertaining that way. So if you don't see 4 or 5 right away, it's because I haven't scrawled it on paper. I'm downloading it still in my head. That'll keep people from working too far ahead too sometimes. And make better content here. So I'd rather have quality here than a bunch of people jumping ahead and giving me a bunch of stuff because that's what they thought I wanted. That's not what I want. I want nice quality. I I don't reward people for being ahead. I'd rather have quality and over quantity any day of the week. This is new too, but I gotta get some direction here. So I have a co-author for the class. She's an English major. I'm a math person, math and science, chemistry. I'm kind of weak with writing. So what I do is I have a co-author that helps me with the content, like portfolio and what is required in a resume in 2020, all that good stuff. So she'll be in every once in a while. We're going to have to do a thing called work keys. I don't know if you remember that grind, but we'll have to do a work keys evaluation at one point. It's a subjective idea of something. It's the only standardized test I'll ever allow in this class. And, well, other than Adobe, right? But that's your own choosing to do that. Like if you do the Adobe certification, that's your choice to go that route. At least Adobe is useful. In my humble opinion, I would say WorkKeys is absolutely useless, and I'll record that. Get slack for it. It does not mean much other than it's a standardized test and we have to do it every year. So you'll see very little buy-in on my behalf on it, and I don't push it on other people unless you want to go that route. The resume, cover letter, and job application and the work examples, these four, we're going to push hard. This, not so hard. Those. But we don't have enough examples yet, to be honest with you, to even go down this road. So this is something that's going to be in Schoology, and I'll push them into the weeks eventually. But just know that don't do this yet. It's just there. Focus on this stuff. Marking period 2. And I think I might hide marking period 1 by the end of this week. Or put it in a finished folder. Cool. I think that's it. Like, you guys have any questions that I can put on the recording so other people can have that? Any confusion to help others? Pretty straightforward? All right. Cool. All right. Enjoy. Come see me if you have any questions.